Stephen Milam, Jake Brown leading a big powwow before the game started. Luis Hernandez with a home run earlier in this series, but the Tigers leading the SEC in batting average at .341. And on the mound for Texas, Ruger Riojas making his first start as a Texas Longhorn.
Well, I tell you what, this young man, I saw him in high school, and he was an 88-mile-an-hour guy, and now he has really grown up and blossomed. He's been out of the bullpen, been in the middle, he's been at the end, he's been a lot of different things, had a little more extended on Tuesday night, and this will be his first start.
And for Riojas, transferred in from UTSA, Derek Curiel stepping in. The series is on the line. It's a beautiful afternoon in Austin, Texas, and away we go. Curiel lifts the first pitch.
You know, sometimes you can tell a game plan by the first hitter, and particularly a polished hitter like Curiel, even though he's so young, is he sees the very first pitch as a strike. So they think Riojas is going to attack them early count strikes, and so they're going to be, looks like, aggressive.
And now Jared Jones, #1 first baseman in college baseball, according to D1 Baseball, entering the season. And a breaking ball starts him off for a strike. 83 degrees, our game time temperature. Wind gusts up to about 20 miles per hour. Not quite as strong a breeze as we had last night, but still blowing out a little bit towards center field. Jones so far in the series already with the 5 hits. And off the end of the bat, he'll splash one into right field for his 6th. 1-out single for Jones.
He does such a good job of keeping the barrel in the hitting area so long. And what I mean by that, it just, not that it's a slow swing, it's nothing but. And watch this, that barrel just stays in there, ball's running.
And now Daniel Dickinson has had 1 hit in each of the first 2 games, and he'll show buzz. The pitch misses outside, 1-0. Dickinson, a junior from Richland, Washington, transferring in from Utah Valley, first year at LSU.
You got to pay attention to Jared Jones now. He's at 4 or 6 stolen bases. I mean, you think guys that big, oftentimes you don't think are, great base stealers. Not the case here for this young man. He can do it all.
6'4", 246. And Dickinson takes a heater inside, 2-0. Riojas, 2-time All-Conference at UTSA. This is just the 3rd start of his college career, though. He's been almost exclusively a reliever.
And the reason for that is because he can bounce back. And, at UTSA he did it. His freshman year, he grew into that role of the multi-purpose guy, high leverage, is what a lot of people like to say now, big moment guy, and then be able to bounce back the next day or two in a conference series.
Just missed high, 3-1. And so often you hear about coaches like having that guy they can have impact multiple games on the weekend.
Well, you got to be able to bounce back, and not just bounce back, but your stuff's got to bounce back with you.
And through 4 innings on Tuesday against his old team. Dickinson takes ball 4. Riojas hasn't walked many this year. That's just 6 in over 20 innings.
I tell you, LSU does such a good job with their patience. Is one word to describe it. Discipline, another word to describe. Both these teams do offensively, and they don't give away at bats. They don't get themselves out very often. They'll chase some. That's the way the game is, but not as much as other teams.
Josh Pearson jumps on the.
Again, I think now 2 of the 4 hitters that have gone to the plate have swung at the first pitch. I think the scouting report and LSU's idea of how they're going to get after Riojas is he likes to get the first pitch over this, for strike 1. Be ready for it. If you see it, you like it, let's get your swing off and go.
And Stephen Milam, monster, coming to the plate. He made some great plays in the field last night, didn't he?
Man, he just showed off his arm, his footwork, concentration, all the above.
Pulled the string on him. Strike one on Milam. Switch hitter out of Mexico.
You know, out of Riojas now, you're going to see a 94, 96 slider, curve, and now he's incorporated a splitter into his repertoire of pitches.
0-2. Milam trying to walk it off. He had some pretty big moments last year. His head coach, Jay Johnson, comes out. Has been even better this year in the start. Of course, he had a couple of big home runs in the postseason, a couple of walk-offs for the Tigers, but already 5 this year, hitting close to 370.
I'll tell you what, it's a compact body. I mean, he's physical now. Let me tell you what, he may not be as tall as some other shortstops around the SEC or college baseball, but it's a compact swing. Does a tremendous job of being able to slide his hands inside to get the barrel to the baseball. And then certainly we already talked about his ability to defend at shortstop.
Look out towards Jones. Now the 0-2. 11 runs. Adrian Rodriguez, a big night, 3 for 4 with a double, not to mention Jalen Flores and Rylan Galvan with a couple of big home runs. So they're feeling confident showing up to the yard this afternoon, and they'll be facing a tough righty out of Midland, Texas, a sophomore Chase Shores, Coach.
I'm going to tell you what, it's a big frame, big bodies. You saw 6'8". It's a 95, 99 mile an hour sinker slider is what he likes to do, low arm action. I mean, he's going to put his arm out to the side or his hand out to the side of his shoulder just a little bit. We get a look at it right there. But a young man that's been riddled with injury. And look, you know, his freshman year was a Sunday starter for him. Had a couple of starts, you know, a lot of promise. Got injured, sat out all last year with an injury. And so each day and each outing for him is new. It's a new experience for him, but we certainly have a great state of Texas, you know, opportunity here between these two, between Riojas and Chase Shores.
So Shores on the mound, and head coach Jay Johnson in the dugout in his 4th season. Second most wins in Division I since the start of his time at LSU in 2022.
I'll tell you what, a good baseball. Both these guys are 2 of the top guys in this industry, and they're guys that stay on the forefront of college baseball. You rarely catch these guys trying to catch up with somebody else in ideas and thoughts.
We saw Jim Schlossnagle. He knows the first step in winning a rubber game is breaking out the banana
well,
as your early game meal. So here's Ethan Mendoza. He takes outside ball. When Mendoza moved up in the leadoff spot after a couple of weeks, and you use the word gritty to describe what he's brought to that spot.
That's no question. He is gritty. I mean, he just battles every at-bat for him. He is emotionally attached to.
And ahead in the count here, 2-0. Mentioned Chase Shores, everything new for him. This is in the SEC 2 years ago as a freshman in relief, and then started at home against Mizzou last weekend. You think there's some nerves out there for him in this spot?
Oh, I'm sure there probably is, but back home in this home state, you know, he probably grew up, I would assume, he grew up thinking about University of Texas with it being such a, you know, big brand in the state of Texas. Played his high school baseball, Midland League, long-time high school tradition in football. Played for Brian Roper, a good friend of mine. Great high school and college and junior college coach. And so, this probably adds a little more to it.
Right-hander with that big fastball facing Ethan Mendoza, the transfer in from Arizona State. Had a 14-game hit streak snapped on Friday. Had a couple of hits last night, though. He's worked a full count.
There you get a look at that 98-mile-an-hour heater from that just below three-quarter arm slot from Shores.
That was the biggest difference between game 1 and game 2 for LSU. Didn't walk a soul in the win Friday night, walked 7 last night.
Yeah, I mean, Friday night they just smothered Texas with strikes. I mean, they just weren't going to give up the free base, you know, and now you give up that free base and now lead off an inning, too. You got a 50-50 chance of being able to score, which is what happens when your leadoff, your guy gets on, and it's also the benefit of why sometimes you don't swing early at a 3-1 pitch. It's not that you couldn't have got a strike. He threw a strike, but it's the next pitch, right, that ended up being ball 4 and creating a base runner. Because you could take a 3-1 pitch early in the game and swing as hard as you want and hit it right at the shortstop, right? And so that's just part of the game. So early you want to make the pitcher, you know, throw a few more pitches, and then Mendoza earns a walk out of it.
All 3 of those hits for Ballou came on Friday night. And we saw LSU attack him yesterday with off speed and breaking balls.
They just did the same thing, too. They like to try to throw those breakers in. They got a pull side defense with a second baseman over shaded more in the 4-hole. And what they're trying to do to him, again, another breaker, right? So right-handed pitcher throwing a breaker running into a left-handed hitter. It's hard for them to keep it fair, right? So you'll see a lot of foul balls where they pull them foul, and what they're trying to do is either induce him to hit a ground ball to the pull side, to the second baseman pulled over, or first baseman, or foul it.
Fastball just above the zone at 98. Coach Jim Schlossnagle mentioned before the series, too, that, you know, as patient and as selective as they've tried to be at the plate, LSU is a team that throws so many strikes, they might swing a little more often. But so far, a couple of full counts here on Chase Shores, and, of course, Ethan Mendoza then getting the leadoff walk to start things. You consider starting Mendoza here?
Well, that's what I was just saying. I mean, it's always possible.
There he goes.
Yeah, and that's more of a a hit and run. Mendoza was looking in the whole time. It wasn't like he was trying to get a great job. You want to make sure he goes to the plate. You don't want to get picked. And, you know, sometimes some coaches won't start him up all the time because they want to have the comfort of, hey, let's swing at a strike right here. Don't feel like you have to swing.
Mendoza not going, and this one tapped foul at the plate.
Yeah, just like I was saying, it's a cat and mouse deal. The coach will put it on, then he'll take it off one pitch, may put it back on. This is where it becomes important to know your hitter. You know, does he get sped up because the runner's going? Does he feel like he's got to swing because the runner's going, right? Or does he sit back and just read the pitch like he normally would if nobody was on?
There he goes. And Ballou bends this one foul. You were on it, Coach.
Yeah, this time, I mean, you could see Mendoza leaning out of there just a little bit, trying to get a little bit better jump towards second. But again, in this situation, as a base runner, you do not get picked off in this situation. It is not a straight steal.
This will be the 9th pitch of the at-bat. There goes Mendoza on a
protective steal, getting Mendoza, the leadoff hitter, now in the scoring position.
And now Jalen Flores. Shortstop had that big home run last night to tie the game. Takes a first pitch strike. Consensus All-American last year out of San Antonio, Texas. Already driven in 3 runs this series, and there you can see home plate umpire David Savage reminding Chase Shores he's got to make eye contact. Saw David Savage, he got a little bit of a warm-up last night coming in the 7th inning when Dave Soucy, the original home plate umpire, took a foul ball off his finger. 0-1.
Yeah, I looked down there early in the game to see if he had his fingers taped up, and he did. I mean, there's no way that Soucy didn't tear those fingers up last night. I mean, he got hit right on that index finger. So you get a look at it, yeah, they're taped up. I'd have more than that on. He got both of them, is what it looks like.
Shores maybe going away from the fastball here. Getting a couple of strikes on Flores. Dave, he stayed in the game and called another, inning and a half?
Yeah, no, I mean, he cowboyed up and said, let's go. I'm going to stick in there as long as I can. But after we saw the replay, I was like, whoa, wow. That was painful.
Yes. Back to the fastball. Both these teams swept their opening weekend series. LSU taking all 3 from Missouri, and then Texas sweeping Mississippi State, including a Sunday doubleheader. You see the crowd on hand. After today's game, expected to have over 20,000 fans come through the gates over the course of this series.
Well, that's 20,000 in the gates.
Yes.
Right? There was another, I don't know how many thousand that were outside the gates. You get a good look at it. Even yesterday, you see an occupied left field group out there that are always out there. But even yesterday, there were more tents even behind it. There was
2 away. First strikeout for Shores. Got him on the breaking ball.
That breaker was a little bit slower. He took a little more off of it. Got Flores out in front. Wasn't able to foul it off to keep the at-bat alive.
And now quite possibly the hottest hitter in college baseball, Rylan Galvan, who has hit 7 homers in his last 10 games, including 4 straight. And the first pitch, low and away.
Well, it's one thing to be hot, hitting, base hits. But that's a whole nother level of being hot, hitting homers. I mean, that's just, it has been incredibly fun to watch. Great at-bats, staying on balls long, opposite field homers, pull side homers.
Last 9 games for Galvan. 7 home runs. 17 runs scored. And you pointed out yesterday, Coach, but a few more guys on base, that RBI total would be way higher.
It'd be probably similar to the run scored.
He gets a piece of 98.
That's right, when he hit that homer. It was already, you got Mendoza to second base. Coach Schlossnagle chooses to start the runner up, right? And he gets, instead of hitting a double play off a Baloo, gets the runner scoring for an RBI.
Talked to him last night after the game, Coach. I think it's safe to say Sinton, Texas, loving what they're seeing from their homegrown star. There's Adrian Rodriguez. Switch hitter, takes a called strike.
Well, their head coach is a former Texas Longhorn great, Adrian Alaniz, who was an unreal pitcher here. And well, I'll tell you what, and let me tell you something, a fabulous high school coach, and I guarantee you, I don't know how big Sinton is, 6, 7, 8,000 people. They probably all got their TVs turned on today, I can promise you. They love them some baseball down there, let me tell you.
Galvan, not the only Sinton grad in the lineup today either. For Texas, Jaquay Stewart, batting 7th, the DH. See the series Rodriguez has put together so far. And he jumps on.
But that young man has got lightning in those hands. He's got some of the quickest point A to B hands as I've seen for such a young hitter. Now, a guy's been playing varsity baseball since he was a freshman in high school, but that ball centered, kind of ran back into the center of the plate. Look how short and quick that swing is. And I tell you what, LSU got lucky. That ball hit off the top of the fence so hard that they weren't able to score Galvan. Texas, that was from first base, and normally on a double you would.
104 off the bat for Rodriguez on that double, and here comes head coach Jay Johnson, and he wore a path from the third base dugout to the mound last night using 7 relievers. Many of them didn't throw more than 10 or 15 pitches, so in theory they can come back today.
Oh, I'm sure they've got plenty down there locked and loaded and ready to go. And you're right, nobody was overexposed last night for them. And again, this is hey, let's calm down, catch your breath. You're one pitch away from getting out of this, right? One pitch away, 1 run scored. And so that's just, hey, catch your breath. And then at the end of that conversation, you turn to your catcher and you say, this is what we're going to throw the first pitch, so that he gets it into his mind. So he's just an experienced hitter. This guy's been in the league, in college baseball for a while. And they're going to warn him about making sure, they're going to call it a ball. That's the second time that they've warned him about making sure the hitter can get in there. And I'm sure it's a distraction. I mean, you got a lot going on. You're trying to pitch. You're trying to get out of a jam.
One pitch. Schussler can't check his swing.
Those are moments where Kimball Schussler's been pretty good with 2 strikes. He brings that whole field into play. He'll try to stay on balls a little bit longer, hit them the other way.
One, two. Pitch count at 30. Now for Chase Shores with that automatic ball. Right-hander pitching in his home state, trying to get out of the first inning. Shores on Schussler. Full count.
Well, if you're Shores, you've got options here because you do have a base open. Even though Stewart coming up behind him would be a left-handed hitter, but you do have options.
Curveball in for strike 1. There is Tulo. 2-time Gold Glover.
You're talking about a guy who loves the details of playing defense. He not only did he as a player, but now as a coach, and has a tremendous understanding of every detail of fielding a ball, throwing a ball, anticipating a ball, ground ball. I mean, you just name it. I mean, he's lived it, and now he can communicate it to the Texas defenders.
Not bad for an old dirtbag. Pulls the rug out from underneath Jake Brown.
I tell you what, Coach Schlossnagle took the thing. Coach, you may want to let that 5-time Gold Glover take over that one, or maybe Troy needs to call him off. I'll tell you what, Riojas went to a splitter right there, and that ball just got right in the hitting area, ducked its head, and just disappeared.
First strikeout for Ruger Riojas. Leaps ahead with a fastball at 95. So far, filling up the zone. Had that one walk to Dickinson, but he has not thrown a ball outside of that at bat.
Well, what you're seeing today is the product of two high school guys from the state of Texas competing today, right? All right, now Ruger Riojas, what you're seeing in college baseball is what is happening for professional baseball. College baseball is developing these guys. This young man was an 88, 90-mile-an-hour guy out of high school. Now you're looking at 95, 97. That's why college baseball is so important to the game itself and to professional baseball, as we see another foul ball, and just how it's changed over time. I mean, look, if I'm a high school prospect and I can come play in front of crowds like this, the energy we had in here last night, as opposed to maybe traveling all over our minor league at 18, 19 years old, and get to develop with both these staffs and the type of coaching staffs they have, and in this league, I mean, and the resources, I mean, that's a no-brainer to me.
In the dirt, check swing, Kellen Levy says that Hernandez did not offer at it. And I feel like, I mean, you've been around this game your whole life, Coach. There was a time where people were skeptical that you could train velocity.
Yeah, I mean, well, they do now. I mean, they train for it early now, right? Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, it was a natural maturation that you could get out of guys if they had it physically. Then you could add the strength and conditioning piece of it to help create velo as well. But they do both. They train for it, so much now, even prior to getting to college. And that's why we're seeing just numbers I never thought I would see in college baseball. We're watching it today. 94 to 99. We saw 99 last night. That used to be such a rarity, and now it's a common experience.
Swing and a miss. Hernandez chased the high fastball. Back-to-back strikeouts for Riojas.
Well, this is what Ruger Riojas was so good early in the year, and that is going to the top, just above the catcher's mask, right there. It's that four-seamer. Hitter sees elevated fastball. It's so hard to lay off of it, and even harder to catch up to.
Now Tanner Reeves getting his first start of the weekend. Came in as a pinch hitter last night, stayed in the game to play third base. Another Texas kid getting a chance to play here at Dish Falk. Just missed.
Well, I'm a proud Texan, first and foremost, and you know that, but there's so many great players in the state of Texas, high school-wise, select baseball-wise. I mean, they're riddled all over the SEC and all over the country now in college baseball. We were always thought of, and rightfully so, as a tremendous football state. And I grew up in a football home with my dad as a college and high school coach, but let me tell you something. Baseball is real in this state.
3-0 on Tanner Reeves. There's a strike. Did you find yourself wanting to recruit players who played both in high school?
Absolutely, 100%. Look, a football player's got 25 seconds. Even if he gets his face mask knocked off, he's got 25 seconds to get ready for the next play. And baseball's not a whole lot different.
Riojas comes back to fill up the count.
I'll tell you another thing about this state too. All these guys growing up in high school, select baseball in high school, they all know each other.
3-2. Spoiled. Tanner Reeves. So far this season, this is his 10th start. Slugging over 600 with a couple of home runs. Riojas ready with his payoff pitch. And Reeves.
Well, what a good battle. I mean, Riojas falls back 3-0, comes back, gets it back into the count. Reeves fouls off a couple, hits a line drive, and I mean, this is just maybe an inch or so just above Jalen Flores. So we get another look. It wasn't by much, and I mean, that's a tall frame at shortstop out there. Also shows us how hard that ball was hit.
First pitch to Chris Stanfield. Fastball in for a strike. Stanfield 3 for 8 in the series so far with a couple of doubles. Transfer from Auburn in his first year at LSU. He's got tremendous speed. A nice play made there by Josh Jordan.
He sure did, didn't he? Kind of just took a little shuffle step over, caught it. Knew exactly. I think the umpires are congratulating him as well. Nice play.
Ooh, just missed. Riojas, he took a step towards that dugout.
He did. He thought he had just nibbled on the outer half of that corner of the plate. Hard to tell right there if it caught enough of it.
1-2. Ruger Riojas, his first start as a Longhorn. He's thrown up 2 scoreless.
long time, and I've known Jim for 30-plus years, and on top of being what I think is one of the best coaches, he is a really quality person. And you get to know about him and how hard he works and how hard he gets after it. He doesn't demand any more than what he demands of himself. I can assure you of that. And he's done a tremendous job. Look, it speaks. His record speaks for itself, right?
Closing in on 1,000 career wins. And he's been to the College World Series 7 times, 2-time National Coach of the Year. Jaquay Stewart picked up a base hit with the start yesterday. Chase Shore's back on the mound, ahead 1-2.
I think what's so impressive is, for Coach Schlossnagle, is that 6 out of the last 10, he's been in Omaha. Now, college baseball is different now. I mean, the programs are putting more resources into their programs. Everybody's, building facilities because they see that baseball's now how popular it is, and I love it. And that guy right there, now 6 out of 10 to get to Omaha, compete for national championships, had a chance at, arguably, Montgomery got hurt last year going into Omaha, right? And they still get to the championship game. And so he is a detailed forward thinker and dedicates his time to this game. He wakes up in the morning, he's thinking about he's going to make his program better.
And winning that first SEC series here at home over number 2 LSU, that would get the attention of the college baseball world.
Well, it's a long grind. You'll hear him talk about you got to get to 15 wins in the SEC regular season. And then all of a sudden you're talking about hosting and all the above and what that means. And it's a long path. And it's not just about this weekend, not just about last weekend. I mean, it is a long, drawn-out path. And again, we were talking about at the beginning of this, your competitive endurance, right? Your competitive your capacity to be able to do it not only just, on a Friday night, Saturday, but on a Sunday, but all the way through the conference too.
0-2. Did you find there was a time in the calendar or the schedule where it felt like it became the hardest grind, late April, early
mid-April.
May?
Mid-April. It heats up. The weather heats up. A lot of different things. Injuries start to come about. A little more, there's a lot more taxing to it. But really, your body starts to wear down. But I would tell you this, what has changed dramatically, and, UT Matt Couch, who's a strength conditioning coach, and Chris Martin, the strength conditioning coach at LSU.
Gasparino pulls one foul, gave it a ride.
They all, the better strength conditioning coaches understand now how to physically get their kids through the season. And it's huge. Nutrition, the strength conditioning part, that goes back to what I was talking about, how college baseball now develops players, in my opinion, even better than professional baseball because of what you're seeing out of these crowds and the resources that are paid towards, put forth towards these college programs. But it's a lot to it. We see another foul ball in mid-April, and it gets hot. You start playing 90-degree weather, down south, you start playing up to, even sometimes in the great state of Texas, you'll find some spots that's pushing 100 on that turf.
She knows how to handle it.
Yeah, there you go.
Not her first rodeo. 2-2 on Gasparino. And he spoils that one foul. Speaking of player development, of course, his father, vice president of baseball operations with the Dodgers.
Yeah, his dad was a really good college baseball player himself.
What's the World Series with the Cowboys at Oklahoma State?
He sure did. Right there, a good hustle play before, and then a guy comes through with a base hit right behind it.
And Coach Schloss has already talked about numerous times this year about aggressive base running, and it's not just the stolen base. It's what you saw from Will Gasparino there. Mendoza takes ball one.
Well, you got to run the bases with your eyes open. You got to always know where the ball is and be able to run as hard as you can, knowing and anticipating where the ball is and where the ball's going.
Shores a long pause, and they'll pick off and throw over to first. And Coach Schlossnagle mentioned this as well, and I'm sure you'll agree, but what you just described about being a good base runner doesn't take a whole lot of natural physical talent.
No, but you got to pay attention. You got to want to pay attention. You got to want to know where the baseball is. You got to, I mean, that's a piece of this game that's so important and so relevant. And you got to want to run hard. And that's another thing too, right? I mean, I think that's one of the things about Ethan Mendoza. He grinds and just so much and just puts so much pressure on you. And because everything I told you, I truly believe not that everybody else didn't, he is so emotionally attached to every at bat and every pitch.
Fastball from Shores, who's been falling behind a little bit here. Mendoza transferring in from Arizona State, of course, originally from Bedford, Texas, South Lake Carroll High School. To coach.
I mean, that's what you expect from him now. That's what he does over and over. Just look, he gets in there and he grinds and he grinds and he grinds. He refuses to get beat, and he like stays inside of it just long enough. Hits it the other way. Get another look. Stands if there's a gaping hole over on the right side. Stays on it. Gets you through there. Now you know you're plus 120 with a runner from first, getting all the way to third in scoring position. With less than 2 outs, now you got a lot of different opportunities to get the runner in from third.
And Max Ballou at the plate. Takes the first pitch strike. That was a little sharper slider there.
Well, they've continued to stay on the first base side of the plate to Ballou, going all the way back to even Friday night and certainly yesterday, where the right-handers running that ball underneath him. You can see the catcher set up underneath him again.
0-2.
Well, if you're Texas, you got good runners on both corners now. You got to be thinking about, possibility, double steal, putting the game in action or, in motion. There's a lot of different things you can try to do here too. But the one thing as a coach, you keep telling yourself, I got Max Ballou sitting in the box, right? Let's set up away. Got enough for him to get it over there. The job of hitting. And a nice play at third base.
But Texas now leading 3-0. And Jalen Flores. Fastball at 96. Flores, he was a piece too, Coach, that he could have signed professionally last year. He was a draft-eligible sophomore. But along with Rylan Galvan and Max Ballou, a number of talented players with the coaching change, they wanted to come back to Texas.
Well, that was probably one of the very first things that Coach Schlossnagle did, was he would go in there and communicate about how important they are to this program, but also how important they could be to them to make their career, help their careers and their development. And that's a two-way street.
Heading the count. Good pitch. 60 pitches already for Chase Shores on a hot Sunday afternoon in August in Austin. We're in March now, Coach.
Yeah, you got ahead of me a little bit, and I was like, wait a minute, I missed a couple of weeks. Can we go back?
2-2. Shores fires. And up Texas adds a couple of runs, though, on 3 hits.